Alex had never liked attics. They were always dark, dusty, and filled with things long forgotten. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, however, his mother had insisted that he help her clean the attic. "It's just for a little while," she said with a smile. "And who knows? Maybe you'll find something interesting." Alex had shrugged, expecting to find only old boxes of clothes and broken toys. The attic smelled like wood and age. Dust floated in the air, shimmering faintly in the streams of light coming through the small, grimy window. As Alex moved boxes aside, he noticed a worn envelope, yellowed with age, sticking out from a pile of old photographs. It had a date written in faded ink, October 12th, 1983. He picked it up carefully, feeling a strange thrill, like opening it might uncover a secret. Inside the envelope was a single photograph. It was black and white, grainy, taken at night. A group of people stood in a garden, their faces faintly blurred by the darkness. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, but Alex's eyes caught something unusual. A shadow behind one of the trees, too sharp to be a normal shadow, and faint, swirling lights that didn't match the rest of the scene. Something about it felt alive. Alex held it closer, tilting it in the light. The photograph seemed to shift slightly, almost as if the shadow moved when he wasn't looking directly at it. He frowned, unsure if it was his imagination. "Mom," he called down, "do you know whose photo this is?" His mother appeared at the bottom of the stairs, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "That? Oh, that's from Clara. She was a friend of mine and she loved photography. That was taken at her garden party, ages ago." "Why?" "I just found it in the attic," Alex said, holding it up. "There's something strange in it. Look at that shadow." His mother squinted at the photo, then laughed softly. "Oh, that. Clara always loved making her pictures mysterious. Don't take it too seriously. It's just a trick of light and camera angles." But Alex didn't feel reassured. Something in the photo tugged at him, like a magnet. Later that evening, he went online and looked up Clara. She was older now, her photography still admired in small art circles. Her work was beautiful, often surreal, with strange patterns of light and shadow. But nothing mentioned anything like what he had seen in the photograph. The next day, Alex decided to ask Clara in person. She lived a few blocks away, in a quiet house surrounded by trees. When he knocked, she answered almost immediately. Her hair was silver, her face lined with age, but her eyes were sharp and lively. "Alex, right? Your mother mentioned you might come by," she said warmly, though there was a hint of hesitation. He held out the photo. "I found this in the attic. Do you remember this?" Clara took the photo, and for a moment her smile faded. She studied it carefully, almost as if she were trying to remember something long buried. Yes, I remember." "You must promise me, Alex. Don't show this to anyone else, and don't try to copy or reproduce it. Do you understand?" Alex nodded, puzzled. "Why? It's just a photo." Clara's expression became serious. "It's more than that. That photo, it's different. The night it was taken, I used a special camera, one I shouldn't have. It was experimental, and, well, it captured something unusual, something beyond what most people can see." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. "Beyond what people can see? Like ghosts?" Clara shook her head. "Not ghosts. Something else. Something from somewhere else. I didn't think anyone would ever notice. But you're seeing it. That means something." For the rest of the afternoon, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the photo. He went back home and placed it on his desk, staring at it. At first it seemed static, but then he noticed subtle differences each time he looked at it. The shadow shifted slightly, the lights moved in patterns he hadn't seen before. He wondered if he was imagining it, but the sensation was too real, too persistent. That night he dreamt of the photograph. In the dream, he was standing in the garden from the picture. The shadow moved closer, not threatening, but curious. It had no face, only a shifting form, and it seemed to be studying him. Alex woke with his heart pounding, staring at the ceiling. The memory of the dream lingered, blending strangely with the real photograph on his desk. Over the next few days, Alex noticed strange things happening. His phone would flicker whenever he looked at the photo. The lights in his room would dim or flare up for no reason. Once, he even saw the shadow from the photo reflected in the mirror behind him. But when he turned, nothing was there. His curiosity grew. He began experimenting, holding the photo in different angles, shining light through it, even photographing it with his phone. Each time, the results were strange. Patterns appeared on his screen, lines of light that seemed almost like a language, but not any language he knew. One evening, he returned to Clara's house, determined to ask her more questions. She was expecting him. "I thought you might come back," she said, her voice gentle. "I can see you're curious, Alex. That's natural. I was curious too when I was your age." "Clara, what is it? What's really in the photo?" Alex asked, holding it out. She took a deep breath. "It's hard to explain. That night, I used a device that could capture glimpses of parallel realities. You know, places and moments that exist alongside our own. Most people cannot perceive these realities, but the camera, it could. And somehow it picked up something. Something that shouldn't have been visible to anyone." Alex's eyes widened. "Parallel realities? Like other worlds?" Clara nodded slowly. "Yes. And I think, somehow, that photo has chosen you to see it. There's a reason you notice things others don't. You're sensitive to these signals, Alex. That's rare in humans." Alex felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had always thought he was ordinary, just a regular kid who liked science and photography. But now, something about him seemed extraordinary. "What do I do?" he asked. "Nothing yet," Clara said carefully. "For now, just watch, observe, and learn. But be careful. Some things, some places in the other realities, are not safe for humans." Alex nodded, but he already knew he couldn't ignore the photo. That night he lay in bed, staring at it, feeling a connection he couldn't explain. The shadow seemed to pulse faintly, almost like it was alive, waiting for him to act. He didn't sleep well. Every creak of the house, every flicker of light, made him imagine the shadow moving closer. And yet, despite the fear, he felt a thrill. Something extraordinary was about to happen, and for the first time in his life, Alex knew he was part of something far bigger than he could have ever imagined. The next morning, he packed the photo carefully and tucked it into his backpack. He had no idea where to go or what to do, but he knew he had to understand it. The shadows, the lights, the strange signals, they were calling him. And Alex was ready to answer. Little did he know, the photograph was only the beginning. The shadow in it was not just an image, it was a message. And in time, that message would change everything he thought he knew about the world, about humans, and about his own place in the universe. For now, though, Alex simply held the photo, staring at the moving shadow, wondering what secrets lay hidden in its depths. And as the sun rose outside, casting light across the room, he felt an unusual certainty. His life was about to be very different. Alex could not stop thinking about the photograph. Every time he looked at it, the shadows and strange lights seemed to shift slightly as if they were alive. Even in daylight, the photo had an unusual glow, faint but noticeable. It was like the image was calling to him, whispering secrets he could not yet understand. He kept the photo in his backpack, carrying it with him wherever he went. At school, he would sneak peeks at it during class, careful not to be seen. Something about it made him feel different. Not just curious, but aware, like he was noticing things that other people could not. It started with small, odd events. One morning, his phone screen flickered as he held it near the photo. Tiny static lines crossed the display, forming patterns he could almost recognize. He frowned, shaking the phone, thinking it was broken. But later, when he moved the phone away, the screen returned to normal. Then the lights at home began acting strangely. Lamps dimmed or flared when he held the photo nearby. Sometimes electrical devices beeped or hummed without reason. His mother thought it was old wiring, but Alex had a suspicion. It had to do with the photograph. Late one night, he decided to test it. He placed the photo on his desk and used his computer to record it under a webcam. The moment the camera focused on the photo, the screen started showing something unusual. Faint lines of light moving across the image, forming patterns, almost like letters or symbols. Alex leaned closer. They did not make sense to him, at least not yet, but they seemed intentional, deliberate. He remembered Clara's words. That photo, it's different. The camera captured something beyond what most people can see. Could it be sending signals? Could the photo itself be alive somehow? The thought excited him more than it frightened him. Over the next few days, the signals grew stronger. Alex started noticing the shadow from the photograph in reflections. Once, he saw it moving behind him in the bathroom mirror. When he spun around, nothing was there. But for a moment, it felt real, like someone had been watching him. Another time, while walking home, a flash of light shimmered in the corner of his eye. He turned, and the air seemed to ripple like heat waves over asphalt. He could not explain any of it, but he felt drawn to understand. He decided to go back to Clara. Perhaps she could explain what was happening. Clara was waiting for him. "I suspected you'd notice more than just the shadow," she said softly, her eyes serious. "The photograph is more than a picture. It contains something called a quantum imprint." Alex frowned. "Quantum what?" "A quantum imprint," Clara explained, taking the photo gently from his hands. "It's a record of events that exist in multiple realities at the same time. Normally, humans cannot perceive them, but some individuals, like you, are sensitive to these signals. That sensitivity allows you to notice things that are invisible to everyone else." Alex tried to understand. "So, I can see these other realities, like other worlds?" Clara nodded. "Not exactly like worlds you can visit, at least not yet. But your mind is picking up on signals from places that exist alongside our own. Think of it as layers of reality stacked like sheets of paper. Most people see only the top layer. You're starting to notice the layers beneath." Alex's head spun. He had always loved science, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Other layers of reality, invisible signals, shadows that could move on their own. "Can I communicate with them?" he asked cautiously. Clara hesitated. "It's possible, but it is also dangerous. Not all layers are safe. Some are unstable. Others, well, they are not friendly. For now, you must learn to observe carefully, to watch patterns, and to understand what the photo is showing you." Alex nodded, feeling both excitement and fear. He left Clara's house and returned home, his mind racing. That night, he set the photograph on his desk again and stared at it, waiting for the familiar shift of lights and shadows. Hours passed. Then slowly the lights on the photograph began to move. Patterns formed, faint but precise. Lines of energy seemed to travel across the photo, connecting points he could not yet identify. Alex reached for his notebook and began sketching them, hoping to decode whatever message was hidden there. He did not sleep that night. His thoughts were consumed by the photo and the strange energy it emitted. At one point, he swore he saw the shadow move closer, not threatening, but almost as if it were observing him. He froze, heart pounding, waiting. But eventually, it faded, leaving only the quiet hum of his computer. Over the next few days, Alex experimented more. He found that devices near the photo, phones, computers, even lights, would react differently depending on how he positioned it. Sometimes the flickers would form shapes or symbols he could sketch. Other times they seemed like random noise. But there was a rhythm, a pattern that was slowly becoming clearer. Then one evening, something extraordinary happened. Alex was taking a photograph of the photo itself, experimenting with angles, when his camera captured something he could not see with his eyes. The screen displayed a faint, moving figure, shadowy, humanoid, with a slight glow. It was the same shadow from the original photograph, but now it seemed more real. Alex's breath caught. Could it be alive? Could it be trying to communicate? He remembered Clara's warning. Some places in the other realities are not safe for humans. Yet, he could not look away. He had to understand. The figure in the photograph flickered again, then vanished. But Alex could feel its presence, like a whisper in the back of his mind. That night, he dreamt of it. In his dream, he was walking through a forest at midnight. Mist clung to the ground, and the air felt electric. The shadow moved ahead of him, guiding him deeper into the woods. Alex tried to speak, but no words came. And then he saw it. Lights, strange and vibrant, forming patterns he could not understand. He woke up with his heart racing. Sweat coated his forehead. The dream had felt real, almost like a memory. He looked at the photo on his desk. For a moment it seemed to shimmer, as if acknowledging his dream. The next morning, Alex began to notice more unusual events. Birds outside the window moved in strange formations. Streetlights flickered in patterns that mirrored the lines in the photograph. Even the radio played static that seemed deliberate. He realized that the photograph was sending signals, and somehow he was picking them up. He decided to test it further. He placed the photograph in a box and moved it to different rooms, observing how devices reacted. Each location produced different patterns of flickers and pulses. Alex sketched everything carefully, trying to understand. It was like decoding a message from another world, or perhaps another reality. As days passed, he began to notice subtle changes in himself. He felt sharper, more aware of small details. Colors seemed brighter, sounds were clearer. Even his thoughts felt faster, more precise. Clara's words echoed in his mind. Humans like you are sensitive to these signals, rare but powerful. Alex realized that the photograph was not just a mysterious object. It was a key to something beyond normal human perception. And with that key, he was beginning to glimpse possibilities that no one else could see. But with the wonder came fear. The signals were growing stronger. Sometimes the shadow appeared at the edges of his vision during the day. Sometimes the lights in his room would pulse in rhythm with the patterns on the photo. And always, there was the sense that something was waiting, watching, testing him. One afternoon, while experimenting with the photo in his room, his mother peeked in. Alex, are you still playing with that old picture? Maybe it's time to take a break. Alex smiled nervously. Yeah, maybe. I'm just trying to understand it. His mother nodded, clearly not realizing the truth. She left, and Alex turned back to the photograph. The shadows were moving again, forming patterns more complex than ever. He could almost see shapes emerging, shapes that hinted at a world beyond his own. Alex understood one thing clearly. The photograph was no ordinary picture. It was a bridge to something extraordinary, and he had already crossed the first step. For the first time in his life, Alex felt truly awake. The world around him, once ordinary and predictable, now pulsed with hidden signals and invisible patterns. And the photograph was only the beginning. The nights had grown longer, and the shadows from the photograph seemed stronger than ever. Alex felt a strange pull, an invisible tug that drew him to the places he could not explain. The photograph had become more than an image. It was a map of unseen signals, leading him somewhere. He did not know where, but he knew he had to follow. One late evening, Alex found himself walking through the edge of the nearby woods. The air was crisp, and the moon hung low, casting silver light over the fallen leaves. His backpack was slung over his shoulder, carrying the photograph carefully wrapped in a soft cloth. He had memorized the patterns, the subtle pulses in the lights of the photo, and tonight, something told him that he was close. He stopped in a small clearing. The world felt quiet, unnaturally quiet. The leaves did not rustle in the wind, the owls did not call, and even the usual nighttime insects seemed to have disappeared. Alex's heart beat faster, a mixture of fear and excitement coursing through him. Then he saw it, a faint shimmer in the air. At first, it looked like mist, swirling in a strange pattern, but as he focused, the shape solidified. A shadowy figure appeared, tall and humanoid, yet not entirely human. Its edges seemed to flicker, like light caught between dimensions. Its presence was calm, almost curious, but Alex could feel its power, its awareness. He froze, unsure what to do. His mind raced with questions, but the figure did not approach aggressively. Instead, it seemed to observe him, tilting its head slightly as if testing him, measuring him. Alex's hand hovered over the photograph in his backpack, feeling its warmth and the faint pulse that matched the figure's movements. Then, to his astonishment, he heard a voice, not with ears, but in his mind, clear, calm, and deliberate. "You can see me because you are ready." Alex swallowed hard. "Ready? For what?" he asked aloud, though he knew the figure would hear him in thought. "To understand, to learn, to see what humans rarely see." Alex's eyes widened. "Humans? Yes. You are unusual, sensitive. Most of your kind cannot perceive the layers of reality. But you can." Alex's fear was slowly replaced by wonder. He had always thought humans were ordinary, limited, trapped on their small planet. But now, this being, this shadow from the photograph, was telling him something different. "Why me?" Alex asked in his mind. "Because you look, you question. You are not afraid to seek knowledge even when it frightens you. That is rare. That is why you are ready." The figure moved slightly, and Alex noticed it was gesturing, or trying to, but in a language made of shapes and light, not words. The photograph in his backpack pulsed in response, as if confirming the connection. Alex took a cautious step forward. What do you want from me?" "Not want. Share. Observe. Learn." Suddenly, images flashed in Alex's mind. He saw cities built on floating islands, rivers of light flowing through forests, creatures of unimaginable forms coexisting peacefully. Worlds where humans, or beings like humans, solved impossible problems with creativity and courage. He felt pride swelling inside him, a deep recognition. Humans were not weak. They were not insignificant. "You see now," the figure's voice continued, "humans have potential. Not just for survival, but for creation, for leadership, for discovery. The universe watches those who act with curiosity, courage, and wisdom." Alex staggered back, overwhelmed. He had always thought of humans as ordinary, struggling to survive in a tiny part of space. But these visions showed something greater. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, if only they dared to see beyond the limits of their own world. "But why me?" Alex whispered. "Because you are the beginning. Your mind, your curiosity, your courage, they will show your kind what is possible. Not all humans are ready, but those who seek, who watch, who create, they will step forward." Alex's heart pounded. The shadow's words stirred something deep within him. He realized that the photograph, the signals, the visions, everything was connected. Humans were more than they knew, and somehow he had been chosen to witness it first. For hours, he stood in the clearing, absorbing the visions, learning the rhythms of the signals, feeling a connection to something far larger than himself. The shadow did not speak again, only observed, guiding him with silent gestures of light. Alex understood that he was being tested, not with danger, but with understanding. Could he grasp the significance of what he was seeing? Could he carry this knowledge back to the world? As the first hints of dawn touched the horizon, the figure began to fade. It shimmered, and then disappeared, leaving only the faintest trace of light in the clearing. Alex felt a pang of loss, but also a surge of determination. He had seen something extraordinary. He had learned something no one else knew. And now, he had a responsibility to watch, to understand, to share. When he returned home, Alex could hardly sleep. The visions haunted him, vivid and alive. He sketched what he remembered: cities of light, creatures of unimaginable form, humans solving impossible problems. Each sketch made him feel a growing sense of pride. Humans were not fragile. They were resilient, creative, and capable of more than anyone had realized. Over the next few days, Alex continued to experiment with the photograph. The signals grew stronger, and his understanding deepened. He discovered that he could influence the patterns slightly, nudging the shadows and lights with his thoughts. The figure had taught him, in a way, how to connect with the unseen realities without fear. He also began to notice how humans had already shaped the universe in small ways. He saw patterns in inventions, discoveries, and art that echoed the visions he had received. Humans had an innate ability to adapt, create, and overcome. They were explorers, not just of the earth, but of ideas, imagination, and potential. Alex felt a new sense of purpose. The photograph was not just a curiosity, it was a guide. And the shadow was a teacher, a reminder that humans could achieve greatness if they dared to see beyond themselves. One evening, as he sat sketching the patterns, the figure returned, not fully, but as a flicker at the edge of the photograph. Alex spoke softly, though he knew the figure could hear his thoughts. "I understand now," he whispered. "Humans are more than I realized. We can create, explore, and lead. We can be extraordinary." The figure pulsed faintly, a silent acknowledgement. Then, as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. Alex felt a surge of clarity. The first encounter had changed him. He was no longer just a curious teenager. He was someone who had glimpsed the hidden potential of his species. In the days that followed, Alex noticed changes in himself. He felt sharper, more aware, and more confident in his ideas. Small things, like patterns in nature, the behavior of people, and the design of machines, seemed to reveal themselves to him more clearly. The photograph and its shadow had opened his eyes to a hidden world, one where humans were capable of greatness beyond imagination. Alex knew that he could not keep this knowledge to himself, but he also understood the caution Clara had given him. He had to learn more, experiment carefully, and prepare for what might come next. Some things in the unseen layers of reality were not safe, and not all humans could perceive them without danger. Still, a new determination burned inside him. Humans had potential, enormous, untapped potential, and he had been chosen, in some mysterious way, to witness it first. The photograph sat on his desk, quiet now, but alive. The shadow had shown him a glimpse of what was possible, and Alex knew that this was only the beginning. Humans were more than ordinary, more than fragile. They could reach for the stars, explore the unknown, and shape their destiny in ways no one had yet imagined. And Alex was ready to take the first steps into that extraordinary future. Alex had returned from the woods changed. The shadowy figure, the visions, and the photograph had opened his eyes to a reality he had never imagined. Every moment now felt charged with possibility. He saw patterns where others saw chaos, connections where others saw random events, and potential where others saw limits. Humans, he realized, were capable of more than anyone had ever believed. He sat at his desk, staring at the photograph. The faint pulse of light within it seemed to respond to his thoughts. The signals, once mysterious, were beginning to make sense. Small patterns turned into sequences, and sequences suggested directions. The photograph was no longer just an image. It was a map, a guide, a key to knowledge humans had forgotten or never known. Alex began researching, diving into old books, scientific papers, and forgotten inventions. He discovered ideas that had been dismissed or overlooked, energy designs that could generate more power than expected, communication systems that could transmit across great distances instantly, and machines that were abandoned because their creators did not understand their full potential. He realized something extraordinary. Humans had already glimpsed some of the answers. They had created brilliance and innovation, often without realizing its ultimate power. The shadow had shown him this, but it was his own curiosity and perception that allowed him to see the connections. Every day, he experimented. Using the photograph as a guide, he reconstructed small devices in his garage, simple machines at first, powered by basic electronics. But when he aligned them with the patterns in the photograph, they behaved in ways that seemed impossible. Lights pulsed in response to his thoughts. Small motors ran smoother than physics should allow, and signals moved faster than conventional electronics could transmit. Alex's excitement grew. He was witnessing humanity's hidden potential firsthand. The innovations, when guided by understanding and curiosity, could surpass anything previously imagined. One afternoon, Clara came to check on him. She watched as Alex carefully connected wires and adjusted devices while monitoring the photograph. "You're progressing faster than I expected," she said, her eyes wide. "But be careful, Alex. You are touching knowledge that humans have barely glimpsed. If used recklessly, it could be dangerous." "I understand," Alex replied, though his mind raced with possibilities. "But Clara, this is incredible. Humans. We can do more than survive. We can create, explore, and even influence realities. The photograph, it's showing me that we've only scratched the surface." Clara nodded. "Yes, that is why you were chosen to see it. You are sensitive to these signals, and you are learning faster than most. But remember, curiosity is powerful, but so is caution." Alex spent weeks experimenting. The more he aligned his devices with the patterns in the photograph, the more remarkable the results became. He could transmit small signals that seemed to move faster than light, create energy pulses that remained stable and self-sustaining, and even detect faint anomalies in the surrounding reality, echoes of other layers, other possibilities. But it was not just technology that fascinated him. He began to understand the broader lesson of the Shadow's visit. Humans had potential not because of their tools alone, but because of their creativity, courage, and curiosity. Even in history, humans had achieved impossible things, crossing oceans, inventing flight, exploring space. Now, Alex saw that those achievements were only the beginning. One evening, he decided to test a new device. It was small, no larger than a shoebox, with wires and sensors aligned according to the patterns in the photograph. He powered it on, holding his breath. Lights pulsed across the surface, matching the photograph's signals. Then, the machine began emitting a faint hum, harmonizing with the energy in the room. Suddenly, the air seemed to shimmer. For a moment, Alex felt weightless, as if reality itself had softened. He glimpsed images, not through his eyes, but in his mind. Humans building cities of light, traveling vast distances instantly, creating harmony where once there was chaos. The possibilities were limitless. Alex realized that the shadow had not only shown him other layers of reality, but had also demonstrated the potential of his own species. Humans were not weak or insignificant. They were capable of greatness, if only they dared to see beyond ordinary limits. Over the next few weeks, Alex refined his experiments. He began sending small signals into space, inspired by the patterns in the photograph. He wondered if other intelligent beings might be able to detect them. Perhaps, he thought, humans were not alone. But even if they were, their potential was enough to stand out in the vast universe. The excitement was contagious. Alex's mind buzzed with ideas, questions, and plans. He realized that humans had been exploring and creating all along, even if unconsciously. Every invention, every discovery, every act of courage was a step toward something far greater than anyone realized. One night, as he monitored his devices, the shadow appeared again, not fully, but at the edge of his vision. It pulsed faintly in acknowledgement. Alex whispered, "I understand now. Humans are not ordinary. We are capable of more than survival. We can explore, create, and lead. We can be extraordinary." The shadow seemed to respond, pulsing with light, and then slowly vanished. Alex felt a surge of determination. The photograph and the shadow had shown him a path, but it was his choice to walk it. He could see the hidden potential in humanity, and he knew it was his responsibility to nurture it. In the following days, Alex began to document everything, every pattern, every signal, every device he had built. He created careful notes, sketches, and diagrams, knowing that this knowledge could one day help others realize their own potential. He imagined a future where humans were not limited by fear or doubt, where they could explore the stars, solve problems once thought impossible, and live in harmony with the universe. He also began to notice subtle changes in himself. His thinking became clearer, faster, and more precise. He could see patterns in everyday life, how people solved problems, how nature operated, even how machines worked. The photograph had opened his mind, but he was learning to apply the knowledge on his own. Clara visited again, observing his progress. "You are learning faster than I imagined," she said. "The photograph has awakened something in you, and perhaps in humanity. But remember, Alex, knowledge is only powerful when used wisely. The universe rewards curiosity and courage, but it also tests patience and responsibility." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He understood that his discoveries were not just toys or experiments. They were steps towards something larger. Humans had the potential to reshape their future, but only if they acted with understanding and care. He thought about the shadow's words. Humans have potential, not just for survival, but for creation, for leadership, for discovery. Those words echoed in his mind as he worked late into the night, connecting devices, analyzing patterns, and testing signals. He realized that he was part of something much bigger than himself. Humans were not insignificant. They were capable of greatness, and he had been given a glimpse of it first. As the weeks passed, Alex's experiments became more sophisticated. He began to integrate signals from the photograph with his own devices, creating harmonized systems that responded to thought and observation. The lights pulsed in rhythm with his mind. Small machines moved with precision beyond ordinary physics, and the faint hum of energy filled the room. Alex knew he was only at the beginning. The photograph had shown him what humans could achieve, but it was up to him, and eventually all of humanity, to take the next steps. The hidden potential was there, waiting to be realized. One night, as he sat in the glow of his devices, Alex whispered to himself, "We are more than ordinary. We can create. We can explore. We can be extraordinary. And for the first time, he truly believed it. The photograph pulsed softly on his desk, as if in agreement. The shadow had shown him the path. Humans had potential, hidden but real, waiting to be discovered. And Alex was ready to explore it, not just for himself, but for the entire species. The world around him had not changed, yet everything felt different. He could see the hidden threads connecting humanity's inventions, its courage, and its creativity. He understood that humans were not only capable of survival, they were capable of greatness. And Alex knew that this knowledge was only the beginning. The days after Alex's latest experiments were unlike anything he had ever experienced. The signals from the photograph pulsed more clearly now, forming intricate patterns that seemed almost like a language. Alex had learned to interpret them, at least partially, and he could feel their energy connecting to something far beyond Earth. It was as if the universe itself was listening and waiting. He worked late into the nights, refining his devices, analyzing patterns, and documenting everything. His small bedroom had become a hub of discovery. Wires, screens, and lights hummed and pulsed in harmony. Every now and then, the shadow would flicker at the edge of his vision, a silent observer. Its presence was no longer frightening. It was a guide, a mentor, a reminder of the potential he carried and the responsibility he now bore. One evening, as he adjusted the settings on his latest device, the lights on the photograph pulsed in a sequence he had never seen before. He leaned closer, and suddenly a voice filled his mind, clear, resonant, and unlike any human language he had heard. "You have observed. You have learned. You have seen the potential of your kind." Alex's heart raced. Who are you?" he asked in thought. "We are observers. We watch across dimensions, across realities. Many species come and go. Few leave a mark. Humans, you are rare. Unusually rare." Alex could hardly believe what he was hearing. Other beings were watching humanity? "Why us?" he asked, almost whispering. "Because you are capable of creation, curiosity, and courage beyond expectation. Your species has the potential to influence not just your world, but the fabric of reality itself." Alex felt a thrill of pride. He had always believed humans were ordinary, limited by their small planet and short lifespans. But now he realized the truth. Humans were extraordinary, even if they did not yet fully know it. "Your discoveries," the voice continued, "have not gone unnoticed. The signals you send, the patterns you interpret, they mark you as a guide. Your kind has begun to awaken to its potential, and you are among the first to see it clearly." Alex's mind raced. Could it be true? Could humans really be recognized across dimensions as beings of creativity and ingenuity? He thought of the inventions he had uncovered, the experiments he had performed, and the patterns in the photograph that had guided him. Everything he had done seemed small, yet somehow it mattered. The shadow appeared fully then, hovering above the photograph. It pulsed with light, no longer flickering but solid, confident. Alex understood without words. This was a signal of acknowledgement. The beings watching were aware not only of him, but of what humans could achieve. Over the next few days, Alex's experiments reached a new level. He began sending structured signals into space, signals that carried not just data, but a reflection of human creativity and thought. The devices pulsed in response to his focus, creating waves of energy that seemed to ripple outward, touching realities he could not see but somehow feel. Each experiment confirmed the truth the shadow had shown him. Humans had the power to influence their environment, and perhaps even the cosmos itself. They were builders, creators, explorers, not just of planets and stars, but of ideas and possibilities. Alex felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity, fragile though it might seem, was extraordinary. One night, while testing a new pattern, the shadow communicated again. Your work is a beginning. Your kind will now be recognized across many realities. Some will resist understanding. Some will embrace it. But the potential exists, and now it is awakened. Alex nodded silently. He understood. Humanity's journey was just starting, and he was a witness, a guide, and perhaps a spark for others to follow. In the following weeks, subtle changes began to manifest in the world around him. Scientists and engineers, without realizing why, started making breakthroughs that seemed inspired by intuition. Art, music, and architecture flourished in new ways, as if an invisible hand had nudged human creativity to new heights. Alex realized that the photograph, the shadow, and the signals were not just about him. They were awakening humanity itself. He continued his work carefully, documenting everything, sketching patterns, and experimenting with signals. Each discovery strengthened his belief in humans' potential. Humans were resilient, clever, and capable of solving problems that had once seemed impossible. They had survived wars, disasters, and endless challenges, and now they had the opportunity to reach beyond survival, to step boldly into greatness. One evening, Clara came to visit. She looked around Alex's room filled with devices and sketches and smiled. "You've done more than I ever imagined, Alex. The signals, the patterns, the devices. You are showing humans what they are capable of. You are a bridge between what is known and what is possible." Alex smiled, feeling the truth of her words. I think humans can do more than we realize. We've always been capable, but now, maybe we can see it." Clara nodded. "Yes, and now others will see it too. The universe is watching, Alex. Not because humans are perfect, but because humans are creative, brave, and capable. That is rare." The photograph pulsed one last time, softly, as if in agreement. Alex knew that this was not the end. It was the beginning. Humanity had been awakened, its potential recognized across dimensions, and he had been one of the first to witness it. In the months that followed, Alex shared his findings with careful guidance, teaching others to understand the signals and the patterns. The discoveries spread slowly at first, then faster, inspiring scientists, artists, and thinkers to explore new possibilities. Humanity began to realize that their creativity and ingenuity were not limited to Earth, but could reach across the universe, across realities, if they dared to try. One quiet night, Alex stood by the window, looking at the stars. He held the photograph in his hands, now worn and familiar. The shadow never returned, but he felt its presence in the energy of the photograph and in the patterns that danced through his devices. He realized that the figure had not just shown him visions, it had opened his mind to a truth that humans had always carried within themselves. Humans were more than ordinary. They were creators, explorers, and dreamers. They could achieve the impossible, solve the unsolvable, and shape their destiny. And now, with the signal spreading, the universe had noticed. Alex smiled, feeling a mixture of awe and determination. The photograph had started it all, but humanity would carry it forward. The world was full of possibilities, and humans, for the first time, might understand their true potential. As the night deepened, Alex whispered to the photograph, though he knew it could not answer, "We will rise. We will create. We will explore, and we will never forget what we are capable of." Outside, the stars shimmered, distant and endless. Somewhere across realities, observers watched quietly, recognizing the species that had begun to awaken. And Alex, standing in his small room with a photograph that had changed everything, knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had been seen. Humanity had been recognized. And now, humanity would step forward, into the cosmos, into other realities, and into a future shaped by creativity, courage, and endless potential. The photograph sat on his desk, quiet and unassuming, yet alive with energy. It had started as a simple image, a memory of one night. But it had become a bridge to knowledge, to discovery, and to the hidden greatness of humanity. Alex looked at it one last time, smiling. He understood now. One person's curiosity, one photograph, and one moment of courage could change everything. And humanity was ready. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, and the universe, vast and infinite, had finally noticed.